never seen myself as just one thing, and I made sure no one else could either. By staying true to myself, making my own path, rising above expectations, and opening the door for others to be their true selves. The first spirit, made with VSOP Cognac, finished in bourbon casks. Martell Blue Swift, soar beyond the expected.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am Alluminati, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. As we have been this season 3, I am fueled by Martell Cognac. Today, I'm having the Martell VS, which is, you guys know I'm a VSOP guy, but this is one of the smoothest VS's I've ever had. Amazing amber color, truly smooth on the palate and easily becoming my favorite. So we want to thank everybody at Martell Massey Connoisseur Trinidad for supporting the podcast. Guys, today we have a very, very, very exciting conversation. One that has been a year in the making. We're going to be having a conversation with the guys from Mad Meerkat Borough, the Global Madness team. We're going to be talking to Mad Canvas. These guys were one of the early supporters of what we've been doing here at Crypto Caribbean, supporting the community and giving us an opportunity. And we've given them an opportunity to have access to our community. And it has been a tremendously positive relationship. So as they come up on the 1 year anniversary, we wanted to touch base with them again and give them an opportunity to share with you guys what has been happening in the borough. So Canvas, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Alluminati? What's up, everyone? It's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it's been a minute, but what a minute it has been.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year. Thank you so much for inviting me, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you and the whole team at Mad Meerkats. Pleasure to have you on to share with us, to share some of your busy time, because I know a lot of plans have gone into this 1 year celebration. So thank you for being with us. Canvas, the first question I ask every single guest when they come on to the podcast is, what led you to crypto in the first place? Tell us your story.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I always love this question, not just as a respondent, but also just hearing other people's responses, because each and every one of us have such a unique story how we entered crypto, right? For me, I think for those of you who don't know, we're a team from Singapore, which means a lot of us have been heavily influenced by Asia cultures,
Right.
Which means for a lot of us, our parents told us the typical route, which is you go to school, you study hard, you come out and do the safe jobs out there, which is, for example, accounting. So that's kind of a little bit of my track.
Right.
But I think I started work for about a year and a half, and that was when I realized that I wanted to do something more interesting in my life. So back then, I invested a little bit into Bitcoin, but it was purely just without any fundamentals. It was just a thing that my friends told me about, right? Yeah. And in January, that's when my a friend introduced me to NFTs. He was telling me, hey, there's this NFT called Bought It Yacht Club, and I had it sounded so weird and so clear, but he was just telling me day in, day out, telling me, why don't you just give it a shot. So that was actually, very luckily, my first entry into crypto properly, into NFTs, by setting up my MetaMask account and purchasing my first ever NFT, which is basically a BOIC. I mean, if you ask me whether I'm a smart guy or lucky guy out there to know that we're blown up, I don't think of any sort. I just look at it as my entrance into crypto,
Right.
and the journey just began from there.
Okay. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it's I would say you're the smart guy because I mean, I was involved in crypto long before January 2021. A friend of mine did recommend to me Board Ape Yacht Club, and I was too smart to get involved. So so clearly, one of us is the smarter guy. But so
Well,
from your so from your entry into the Board Ape Yacht Club community, what then led you guys to start contemplating, or what was the motivation for the Mad Meerkats project?
yeah. Um, so for this one, it's an interesting story. For some reason, I think you probably can remember as well. To this date, I'm not quite sure why, but everyone was just going ham on animals, right? For
Yeah,
some reason, the whole NFT scene was just which animal is the most interesting one to start. And I think for me, it was at the same situation where I was just thinking, a friend of mine was a very good artist, was basically interested in the space. We didn't know what we want to do. We didn't know anything, but we knew that we had a team of people with diverse capabilities. For example, part of the team does developer work.
right.
For myself and Sequence, we're more of the community management and marketing side of things, and we have artists. So we're pretty much equipped to do something crazy, to do something mad.
Right.
And one day we were just having this conversation about, instead of being the one investing, why don't we try to create a legacy for ourselves? So that was kind of exactly how it began.
That's brave, that's ambitious, but it's so smart. And what I mean, you all had a diverse group of people with different talents and different strengths. But what was it about the NFT space different to the traditional crypto space that led you guys to think, all right, we're going to do an NFT project rather than a traditional crypto project?
Right. Okay. The answer to this is quite easy actually. So by then, some of us in the team were quite invested in crypto. Some a bit more on the side like me. But there were some that were doing it full time. But when NFTs came up, I think a lot of things just clicked for us. More so than the rest, of course. For one, we saw this as the right progress for the industry when it comes to digital collectibles.
Right.
I think for many years, people didn't use the term NFTs, but there was always a lot of talk about how proper artwork can be collected in a way that's verifiable. Nobody used the word blockchain, nobody used the word digital certificate, but essentially the concept was always explored very loosely. So when blockchain came about to empower this in the form of NFTs, it was the immediate answer, at least from our perspective.
Right.
And the second thing, which I think most people can agree, is that because you can see something, you immediately can relate to a certain kind of
Mm,
culture, to a certain kind of community immediately. It's not like tokens where basically they're just numbers that you see on a screen.
yeah. Yeah.
But for NFTs, you can see a whole kind of community that you belong to, which is something that especially for Sequence and myself we have always been very much interested in. I think as kind of salespeople, we always find ourselves trying to, not just as a work, but on a personal basis, relate to the people that we speak to. We like speaking to people. We like making connections. We like building a community, and this just felt the right step to take.
Right. I mean, and for me, I think that's an amazing point, because I think one of the first things that drew me into the community was the artwork. I mean, for me, my first visual, and I think that was one of the reasons I couldn't get invested in Bored Apes, because it just didn't appeal to me visually, you know. But the Mad Meerkats, there was something about it that captured my attention and really drew me in. Different from, I mean, all the numerous animal PFP projects that were being launched during 2021. But you guys launched initially on Ethereum, and you guys have the Genesis collection, the 777 collection on Ethereum. But what was it that led you guys to pivot to the Chronos chain and really build the community over there on Chronos?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so maybe for context for whoever doesn't know, we basically started on Ethereum simply because back at that time it was just a place to be, right? If you just got on, nobody was talking about any other blockchain. In fact, I don't think so. Even Solana was that big yet, so it just felt like a very natural thing to do. And I'll be the first to admit, actually, for us, it was a lot of just going head on. We didn't know what to expect. We just followed the meta, I would say, that people do, which is, you start a project on Ethereum, you choose an animal that was distinct, you make sure your artwork is as good as it gets, but in all honesty, it was still following this meta. And, we also did a 10K collection just because everyone was just doing 10Ks. So it was a lot of, I would say, brainless decisions back then. And I mean, of course, it's easy for me to say it now, but back then, honestly, it just felt like the very natural thing to take. So we were hit really hard. Basically, we only minted about 700 plus, and I remember that day very vividly because we opened up. Mint was very, very slow. We tried different things, and it looked like it was gonna plateau at about 750, and the team was just discussing like, now what? I mean, we wanted a project, we went ahead, and now we're at this stage where we kind of have a tiny community, but not quite what we wanted. So now what? Then one day I remember Sequence and I were just discussing like, why don't we look at other blockchains? And back then we were looking at other chains that, like, for example, I kid you not, we were looking at even Luna, we're looking at Solana, and a bit of Cardano. I mean, imagine if we launched it.
Thank God you all didn't choose Luna.
Yeah, really, honestly, thank God, because I don't. I mean, it was really just pure luck. But the key reason why we found Chronos was because back then in Singapore you could still do heavy marketing. Which means in recent times they've stopped crypto companies from doing marketing. So I was taking the train station. Sequence was taking the train station one day, and there was just all these advertisements along the train boards. I think you know what I mean. There was just about crypto.com. So she was just looking at it and thinking like, what is crypto.com? Is it a representation of all cryptocurrencies or what? So we did some research. We found that they were growing. We found that they were in Singapore. And then we entered the Discord community. It looked like a bunch of people who were new, basically all trying to grow and learn together. And we just decided, you know what, let's do an expansion into Chronos and basically launch a 10K collection there with the same ideas that we wanted.
Right. And I mean, for context, I think people need to understand that at this time, Ethereum gas fees will sky high. You would pay sometimes $100, $150 for a transaction, sometimes more for a mint. So all those elements, I think, would have been hampering projects like yourself from really being able to have success at that particular time on Ethereum. So you guys looked around, you investigated crypto.com and Chronos Network, and you decided to do a 10K collection there, right?
Yeah, exactly that.
But in addition to the 10K collection, you guys very soon had a partnership with a DEX or launched a DEX in partnership with someone. So clearly, I would say the universe kind of conspired for you guys to have that opportunity. What was that experience like?
Let me share a bit more about that. I love it when you say the universe conspired, because truly it was another bout of fate. So moving back to where at that status, we decided to launch on Chronos, and we had some ideas about what we wanted to do. For example, we have this social gallery, which not sure. I'll probably touch on it a bit later, but that was one thing that we wanted to do. But one day we were just meeting up with some party with some friends, and then we noticed this 2 or 3 other people who were also in the cryptocurrency space. And these guys were genius. They basically had tons of experience in DeFi. And I think it was at the exact juncture that they also were toying the idea of creating their own DEX. And we hit it off very well, probably also because we had a couple of drinks. And then we decided, what happens.
Best ideas come about over drinks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens when you have two drinks or more, right? And we sort of just realized we have aligned values as to what we want to create. I mean, sure, the product they want to create was quite different, but I realized there was a lot of synergy. And when you talk, there was a lot of things that just clicked. For Sigurd and myself, for people with some business background, it was rare, right? Sometimes you speak to people, the wavelength isn't quite there. Sometimes the things they're trying to do is quite different. But for Finance, it just felt very natural. So they were suggesting some ideas about how we could create ecosystem together. We loved it. We knew it was the right way for us to expand, to teach people in our community about the different parts of Web3. That's why we decided to come together. Yeah. That's kind of the summary.
Well, I mean, it worked out pretty well for you guys. And Finance is now one of the largest DEX on the Chronos next to it. Am I correct?
Yeah. At our peak, we were either first or second. Now I think we're in the top 3.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that has helped to kind of bolster, grow, reinforce people's appreciation for the community.
Yeah. I mean, definitely there's ups and downs, especially when things don't go so well. But definitely it was a huge step to getting a lot of people who were into DeFi into our NFT community.
Right. So after that opportunity, right? What you guys have since launched a few sister projects. I wouldn't say that new projects, but tied to the borrow. You guys have launched the banners. You guys have launched the tree houses, which you're going to see in the background right now, and you guys have done some other things. What was the thought process like, or how did you guys determine that, okay, now is the time to do the banners, now is the time to do the tree houses? How did you guys kind of figure out when it was the appropriate time to do a supplemental collection? Because every time you've done it thus far, there's been success.
Right. Yeah, that's another great question again. Love all the questions you're asking. So back then I was saying, right, we knew what we wanted to do, which is, to explore the different parts of Web3. And the big question, like what you said, was when, right? For us, we always do everything with purpose. So for example, when we launched the 10K Crow Meerkats, we knew for a fact that they, for one, will be used as staking boosters for Finance, amongst other things. And as for the collections like banners and treehouse, they were done purposefully at a time where we felt it was time to launch one of our ideas and put it into fruition. So let me explain by that. For our chief artist decorator, she's deep into art. She loves, I mean, if you see her go at some of her videos, she can go really mad and just draw nonstop, especially when she's inspired. So the banners came at a point where we've realized that sometimes as you build, especially in the NFT scene, a lot of things get tainted when people put too much financial value to it. I mean, it's not that we're naive. We know that a lot of people join the community for the sake of obviously making money. But we have had a lot of positive responses where people came for the money and stayed for the community. For banners, it was honestly one of the things we focused on is we insisted on having a collection that was pure artistic value. So right from the onset, we told people it started off with an airdrop. And our second banner was also an airdrop for people who held the first banners. We've said from upfront, this has zero utility other than artistic value.
Right.
So, if you want to buy it, you should, only because you want to collect a piece of artwork. Nobody buys, for example, a museum piece. You don't buy the Mona Lisa and expect to be able to stake it for money, right? So in the same right, we did the banners exactly for that. But that came at a point where we already built a small committee that was growing. We had the 10K collection sold out, so it was kind of the right time to market it to people who loved decorators' work, and we knew that very likely there will be some of them who would collect it.
Right.
For Treehouse, it came at a point where we've always wanted to do something a little mad. So we thought, like, why don't we try and build a Web3 Facebook? Not in the grand scale of things, because we obviously do not have that kind of resources, but it was more like we thought of a little storyline where every meerkat should have a home.
Yeah.
So the immediate thing to think about was the burrow, but it was hard to draw a burrow, especially when there was nothing particularly colorful. It was just a black cave, right? And on a second note, decorator and us, we wanted to challenge ourselves to do something nice that wasn't always a PFP. So by then we ourselves were sick of the animal meta. We wanted to do something that we hope people would collect, even though they were not PFPs, because by then there were too many PFPs. It's impossible to fight like some of the bigger ones on Ethereum out there. So that's when we decided to venture into the Treehouse artwork, and the Treehouse was the perfect moment to build our social gallery, and that was when we decided to launch it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's truly amazing. And and you kept kind of coming back to the opportunities to serve the community, the opportunities to grow the community. So I want to follow on from that, and I feel like that's a tremendous segue for us in terms of being able to now talk about the community, because that's one of the things that I love about about the borough. But I'm gonna ask you, what is your favorite thing about the community, if you have one?
Yeah, sure, I have many. And after this, I'm gonna ask you the same. What is your favorite thing about either our community or Crypto Caribbean? For me, the answer is very clear, which is, I think, for I can't say for every single person, but in general, the community, I would say, is honestly one of the most patient ones I know. Of course, there are times where things went south, and obviously there are people who weren't too happy. But in general, what you can see inside in the burrow when I say patient is that for we have always operated in a very unique way, which is we don't do like a 1 year roadmap and tell you upfront, at least not until recently.
Right.
The reason being, we held very strongly to our belief that, especially in the NFT scene, in the budding industry, you have to be nimble, you have to be adaptable.
100%.
That serves us well, right? Imagine we launch a whole roadmap on Ethereum. It'll be difficult to pivot into Chronos, because people will be like, "Oh, you're not doing your roadmap anymore. Why did you say one thing and immediately 2 weeks later you meant another?" So we became these people who kind of kept our cards close to our chest, not because we didn't trust people, but because we just always felt the need to remain flexible and adaptable. Now, imagine you're on the other side of the story when you're an investor who, the team is good, they're doing something, but sometimes you don't quite know what it is, right? So there was I would say a lot of times where I think they were not kept completely in the dark, but they didn't quite know 100% what was going on. We dropped as much hints as we could. We also like to be a bit cheeky about it. But I would say all in all, they were very patient people. Basically, all they knew was that we were a team that was hard at work. We communicated that we were present. We communicated the kind of things we're doing, and they just trusted us to deliver. So that's my favorite thing about the community. And even when recently when the bear markets hit, people were completely unfazed. We started a forum where people could give their suggestions. A lot of people step up just to host kind of casual activities such as gaming, quizzes. even just like 3 hour quizzes about related stuff, just chatting, and all these little things are things that I truly treasure about the community.
Yeah. I mean, you wanted to throw back the question at me, and I would say that my favorite thing about the community is how engaged they are. And I think that is something that has kind of trickled down from yourself and Sequence's leadership into the guys who are moderators like Mick, who we are both very, very fond of. Like guys like Mick, your moderators, who are so engaged, who are so passionate about the borough and about building the community and supporting the community. I think that's infectious, and definitely I've seen how infected my community has been. I think you guys have been tremendous for me and our community, because you're one of the first projects that we actually like put our names behind and said, you know what, we think this is an amazing project. And every person in our community who participated has benefited tremendously from that participation. And that has cause them to be even more engaged. And then now I see you guys moving into some of the physical meetups, the Global Madness Initiative, the Global Madness Initiative, seeing people out in Texas, people in Singapore, people in UK, who are part of this community meeting up in person. And there are people in the community, and we live in Trinidad and Tobago, which is a small community, but there are people who I didn't know prior to being part of the community, and now we've built great friendships as a result of the community. So for me, that passionate engagement is my favorite thing about the borough and the community.
Thank you for the kind words, man. I appreciate it, and especially so coming from you.
Yeah, for sure. But so let's talk about growing the community, right? And you guys would have recently, and recently as in the last few months, moved across to Polygon. Why Polygon? Why now? I mean, I have my thoughts, but you tell me, what was you guys thinking in moving to Polygon and at this particular time?
Got it. So at Chronos, there was a point, I think a few months back, where we had successfully launched 3 collections: the Chronos Meerkats, the Tree Houses, and a Degen Meerkats.
Yeah.
And we decided to push ourselves further and go into our first entry into blockchain gaming, which is the Arena. So we wanted to test this simply because I think for us it was always about creating a legacy. So there was no point shying away from what we think will be interesting. Basically, Arena, in a summary, is a click-to-play game, which we have mentioned from the start. So is to manage expectations in case people think it's a AAA grade first-person shooter kind of thing. But no, we're not experts at that. At least not with the current capabilities and the team. It was our first entry into blockchain gaming. So think of it as a simulated battle. A bit like, I would say, maybe RuneScape, but a bit less graphics. And you can use a character, to equip and fight NPCs. You can fight fellow meerkats, and more recently we've introduced the idea of guilds. So as we are building halfway, we realized, gaming is going to be one of the natural pillars for NFTs. So if you want the best resources, if you want to expand to a community where there was many more people who could potentially enjoy what we're about to create, because Chronos was still quite small, the natural next step was another chain that will make sense, which is immediately Polygon, right? Everything about it just makes sense from a technical perspective. It was EVM compatible, one of the highest market caps, huge amount of support. They have a whole Polygon studios just for gaming. So it just felt like a very natural expansion. And also Finance was at the stage where they also wanted to expand to another chain. Now this movement is always topic with a bit of contention, because some people will be asking like, why are you abandoning the Kronos family? It seems like you're just jumping here and there. But we have shown time and again, for example, that the Ethereum Meerkats, they got the Kronos airdrops, they continued to get the Kronos airdrops. There's always a point to reward the people who are here with us from the beginning. And if anything, you get exposure to a different chain, you get to learn about that, which is kind of what we wanted to build. And most importantly, if you think about it logically, the team could have very well, just stayed comfortably in the box and just build whatever we could. For us, it was really, really always about pushing the limits. And I mean, just to clarify that there are times that we didn't do so well, and I'm sure there will be times that we won't be doing so well. But the main idea is to just keep trying something new, something interesting, and hope that more people see what we're doing and just want to join us on this ride. So that's how I put 2 and 2 together, and decided to expand to Polygon for the next step.
Yeah, I mean, I always use you guys as an example for projects that talk to me about having challenging first launches and that kind of thing. I think you guys are such a tremendous example for the concept of failing forward into success.
love the way you say it.
Because I mean, the initial launch on Ethereum was challenging. A lot of people in this space would have, and a lot of people have, packed up their bags and went home as a result of only doing 700 and something mints of a 10,000 collection. You guys were fearless in terms of moving forward, transitioning to a new chain, and then subsequently have launched multiple successful collections since then. And yes, there have been challenges along the way, but you guys have kept going. So for that, I really want to applaud you guys, applaud your team. I think a lot of people don't put enough value in having the right team. You know what I mean? Some people come in, they have a lot of capital to expend, and they don't have success. And I think the key difference is having that right team. So with the team that you guys have, what you guys have already done, what's next for
Many things, actually. Let me try and summarize them in a short statement. So yesterday we kind of did a little update with our holders. I mentioned earlier we like to keep a lot of cards close to our chest, but during the bear markets we listened to feedback and decided to be much more open. So we kind of dropped the direction for what we have for the year ahead. I was particularly inspired. I always like to see everything as an opportunity, and one of the things I guess you can use the word inspired by is the fact that a lot of assets move with the markets, right? So for when it was a bull market, we were completely riding on it. Of course, I only realize it now, but we were riding on it. Our prices were going up. People were feeling super bullish. And when the markets turned, even though, in all honesty, nothing has changed from our committee, I was basically doing the same thing, doing the same communication. People started having doubts. So this came at a point where I was thinking, now we have built something good going. How can we continue to cement ourselves and build the brand? Even when it's the bear markets, we can still flourish and can still do everyone proud. So I've realized that, the reality is on the blockchain, most things are extremely volatile because people enter the blockchain. At the end of the day, a lot of them enter it beyond the simple purpose of it, which is to transfer money and things like that. But all, just enjoying the space and trying to make as much fun and money out of it. So this means, we have to think of sustainable business models. how can we expand in different ways to make sure the brand grows successfully. And the immediate thing to think about is basically what are the physical things that we can do so that we can build a brand, even in the physical world.
Right.
So to summarize, whatever we are building, two of the things we have is, of course, the Global Madness Initiative. I didn't particularly like it that for BAYC, it was a once a year event. Right. People had to fly from all over the world to New York. If let's say, you're a corporate worker, if let's say you can't make it in June, you basically miss out a huge activity that they have. I wanted to bring the madness to every city as much as possible. So I started this initiative where, there were reps. If they wanted to build a small community, even if it's just 5 people, that's completely fine. You just reach out to us. We'll do our best to support you to start whatever event you want. And I think this is how the Trinidad and Tobago event started as well. So and Mikhail, you guys were the reps there, and we worked together, make sure the event was a success. We don't need events to be the kind of outreach like the NYC one, but as long as like what we just helped we did with you guys, it was a decent event.
Community coming together.
Yeah, just come together, learn about it. We didn't even need you to have ROI of getting people to buy anything, because that's not really what we do. So that was one of the things we do to try and make sure that as many people just enjoy our community in real life. There was no need to enter the blockchain if you didn't want to, but of course, once in a while we do giveaways such as the one you did, so someone new got a chance to enter the Paro. On the other side of things, we're also working with businesses. So we've received many requests for people who want to start a merch store, for one or two of them who wanted to include our IP to create a beer. We also have the coffee beans kind of stuff. So
nice.
We realized that maybe we are in a good position to empower businesses. So we are starting this business incubator program where, if you want to leverage your NFTs, if you want to build the brand using our logos, reach out to us. Let's see what we can do. And the same idea is as well to spread the madness from a B2B and also a B2C kind of perspective. The final bit is I've realized if this goes well, I have this crazy ass vision that I'm not quite sure it will happen in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or I don't know when, but I'm hoping technology matches up and we'll be there for it. The easiest way to look at it is, for example, for Marvel comics or Marvel movies, you see Iron Man, press a button, holographic comes out, speak to someone halfway across the globe. Very crazy, and I don't know when that will happen, but the main idea is this. I've always, or rather in recent times, I've been thinking of a world where whatever you are doing in real life and online is very seamless. I don't really like to use the word bridging Web 2 to Web 3 because the word bridge suggests that these two worlds are separate and there's a platform that's linking them together. I think of it as one big world, and your experience in real life can affect your online persona if you want it to, and vice versa. So back to my idea, if just to use an example, you can purchase a beer in one of our metaverse builds that we are currently building, and you can choose to either burn it or send it over to a supplier, and he will ship over maybe a pack of beer to you. Right. And if you think of it on a converse perspective, let's say you receive some merchandise, maybe a hoodie, and you want to give it to someone else. There will be a QR code attached, and then the person can just scan the QR code, and the attached NFT will be sent to his wallet, just like how Azuki has done their golden skateboards recently. So, I mean, these are little proxies, but these are hints, indicators that we're heading towards a direction where the Web 2 and Web 3 world is together as one.
Yeah, full integration.
Yes, exactly that. So for me, the biggest dream is to create a mad world, as I call it, where all of these are integrated together. And everything that we're doing right now are just little bits to work towards that main thing that I hope technology will keep up and get us there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it, and I wouldn't doubt it at all. I wouldn't doubt that we see the technology really catch up to be able to execute on a vision like that. Now, Canvas, the next thing I want to really ask you about, and it's kind of personal, it's kind of for the team, but my experience in crypto has been, for lack of a better term, insane, right? The journey, there are things that I've been able to do because of crypto and the crypto space that were pretty much just a dream for me previously. Tell me what has been the most insane part of this journey for you or you guys as a team thus far.
I'll mention two actually, because I want to mention the up and the down, because I feel like a lot of times people don't really talk about the downs. So I'd love to mention that. For me, I would say one of the happiest moments that I had was on the 5th day of our Crow Meerkat mint, where we finally sold out. Why? It's easy to see, because the decision to move to Chronos, even though I could summarize everything I just said in less than 5 minutes, was not an easy one, right? A lot of factors came to play. There was the luck of us seeing the Crypto.com's advertisement. There was a lot of thinking about whether to refund back and start again on another project, or just continue it and do something else. We have a little committee to answer to. There were just so many things that we didn't expect ourselves to be in. But we chose, looking back, the right decision to expand. And even when I expanded, we spoke to Crypto.com. We decided between CDC and the Chronos network, tons of things, blah, 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 before we finally came up with the decision to launch on Chronos with a 10K collection. So on the 5th day of the mint, where we finally sold out, I remember that was one of my happiest moments. I basically told almost everyone about it, because it's just insane how finally everything was coming to place, and people are finally seeing us potentially for what we were about to do.
Yeah.
So that was how it all kick-started. And every time when there are down moments, of which I'll talk about the worst later, I always get reminded in that moment where a certain number of people believed in us, with, of course, not 100% things to show, just by what we believe in, what we tell people on Twitter. But these people believe in us, and so I always try and remember as many OGs as possible, just because they were there at a time where we didn't have much to show. Now, for the converse, one of my, I would say, most negative moments actually happened kind of recently. So I mentioned the bear markets twice or thrice, but the bear markets also affect a couple of things, such as the MM finance side.
Right.
And people were less bullish. People were taking it out, putting the bonds, putting the bank accounts, just natural things that people do. And obviously, what was the effect? Negative price action. So it came as a shocker, because things were initially going well. Prices were all right, even though I myself, I never focus on it. But at the end of the day, some people always look at it as a main metric. So the moment things went down, a lot of FUD started coming in. Things that people never ever questioned suddenly became things that, you should do this, you should do that. Why is the UI looking like this? Can we get people to talk about that? Blah, blah, blah. And for me, as someone who is easily, because I live for the community, so you can imagine the kind of impact it had on me.
It's like a slap in the face.
Exactly. And the worst is that these slaps on the face only happen later on. So it's not like we launched something and they didn't like it. We launched something, people love it. 2 months down, why are you guys doing this? So it was many slaps in the face, and it was very hard for me not to react in a reactionary way.
Right.
But thankful for Sequence and a team who told me, like, you know what, we need to sit down, think properly about what's next. This not say completely disregard, but don't get overly affected by what people are saying, because sometimes the things you do out of pure reaction are not the best.
Yeah.
And there came a point where we really sat down to think. So there was I would say a couple of days without communication. People were angry. I think that time wasn't too good. And sometimes people forget that at the end of the day, we're just, I mean, we're also human, right? We are trying to create something mad, but it doesn't mean that we're unaffected by whatever's going on. But thankfully, the mods were very supportive. They were holding the fort. When we came back, pushed harder, started to do certain changes, such as what I told you about the communication, and things are much better today. Yeah.
I truly appreciate that you gave us like the high, and then you gave us the more sobering side of the space, because like you said, a lot of people don't talk about the more sobering side. So and I think that's a great place to pivot to my next question, which is, what advice would you give to someone who is, or a group of people who are contemplating launching a project in the crypto space, especially during this bear market?
Well, okay, but the first caveat is I'm definitely not the best person out there to give such advice, but
It's not financial advice. It's
exactly.
based on experience. What
That,
would you say, like one or two of the important considerations to take?
Yeah. I mean, nothing financial advice related. But I would say one of the biggest advice that I can say is take some time and think about exactly what you're trying to build. Of course, it's easy to say, and having started this entire podcast saying that we went head on with nothing to do, that meant that we made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of people. I mean, just like how a lot of businesses start, the hardest part is actually when things get going, right? So doing conceptualization, you can go crazy with ideas, you can go crazy with marketing, but the moment you have your very first person who puts money into your business, that's where the real shit starts. So you have to make sure you know, at least in a directionally, what you're trying to do before that first person invests in you. Because once that person does, that person's life could be affected by you. You know, if he's super bullish, he puts, I mean, we obviously hope not, but some people put like thousands, in fact, tens of thousands in you. That's a lot of money right there. That, I mean, you didn't point a gun to their head, but they trusted you. So that's where the real shit starts. So my one key advice is, make sure you at least know directionally what you're trying to do when you are trying to start something like that. In fact, even if you are just an investor, even if you are trying to just invest in a certain DEX or a certain platform protocol, you have to know what is your aim, right? People always say you need to know when to take profits, you need to stop loss. It's the same thing. You need to know your final goal so that no matter what you do, at least you are working towards that. And there won't be a point where you start to second guess yourself and people start to question you. As long as you know that you are working hard towards it, there, honestly, I feel you're fine.
That is amazing advice. And for someone who was hesitant to give it, you're truly excellent at giving this advice, because I mean, I think that is something that is very, very much something that I think people don't contemplate. The idea that first person, second person, third person that invests with you, in you, is when shit gets real, as we say it in the Caribbean. So yeah, I mean, definitely thank you for that. I know you have other engagements, so I want to thank you again for joining us today on the Crypto and Cognac podcast. Is there anything else you want to share with our community, share with your community, anybody from the team that you want to shout out before you go?
I think I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank you, Alluminati, and also your community. I mean, I think Mikhail was the one that introduced us to each other.
Mick is a huge.
Yeah, and I mean, same thing. We come from halfway across the globe. Just in all honesty, don't know much about you guys. I'm sure you guys didn't know much about us, but yet here we are today after a few opportunities of working together. I particularly loved the fact that you're trying to do something interesting for your space. I remember you were telling me there was a lot of new people and you just wanted to do your part bit by bit. And I think that was the part that really touched me, because we're kind of the same, even though we're halfway across the globe. Huge amount of support from you guys. Can't wait for the next year where we have more things with each other. And
Sure.
thank you for doing what you do. Appreciate it.
Canvas, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate you. I appreciate Sequence and the whole team. Continue to be blessed. And I'm going to see you in the borough.
Yeah, I'll see you in the mirror for sure. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Bless. Guys, another episode of the Crypto and Cognac podcast. Amazing conversation. You don't get the opportunity to talk to true builders in this space as you guys got today. So I hope that you guys are fully appreciative of that. Thank you for being with me. And as I say, adoption is inevitable, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys next week for another episode of the Crypto and Cognac podcast. Be good.